Well, we're back again for another Build Biology, and today we have a builder who's pretty much had his mitts on every historic custom car built ever, period. Let's go see what he brought today. What's up, Dave?
Hey man, how are you?
High fives. Nice. So real quick, what did you bring?
So this is Iron Orchid. This is a 1934 Ford 5-window that I built into a period mid-60s full custom show car. It was built to compete for the Detroit Autorama. I think about 6 years ago now. Almost everything's one-off. There's not one part newer than 1965 on the whole car. Unless I made it. So that was sort of my goal, was to build the most outrageous, the most crazy, the most detailed show car that could have been built at the time using only those parts.
I would say you've accomplished that mission because this is, nothing is stock, nothing's not been touched, nothing's not been staged.
Yeah, there's very little original sheet metal on the whole car.
Wow.
Most everything was made by hand.
Just from the exterior alone, striking the most is the paint is amazing.
So my good friend Daryl Hollenbeck up in Concord is the one who painted this car, and he's basically the only person that I'll let paint a car if I can. He killed it. Believe it or not, he did this paint job in 10 days.
What? Obviously the car was in really good condition when you sent it over.
Yeah, it was body worked and ready for paint.
Yeah.
That's still ambitious. And everything underneath and inside is painted to match the outside.
Everything's cut and buffed.
Underneath, inside.
Oh my gosh. What is the color then?
It's an ice blue pearl, ice blue with gold pearl, with candy purple fogs, ice blue and white striping. It looks like there's more colors than it is, because there's really only two colors.
It looks like a lot more, like you said, just because it has a lot of depth to it, but in the sun, this thing is bananas.
It is, yeah, it goes crazy in the sun. The gold pearl, the ice pearls just go stupid, like you can catch all the gold going on in here. In 1934, this would have been the radiator cap. So this is all one piece. The whole grille is one piece, all smooth, all silver soldered, leaded, and then chromed. The front spreader bar is done, so when you look down at the car, you can actually see the whole grille. It doesn't break it up.
It actually accentuates the whole shape of the front.
This was the longest build of my life. This took about 14 months to scratch build the whole car and finish it. Yeah.
14 months?
Yeah, that's long.
Dude. My gas are still not barely running. I did that over like a year and a half. Jeez.
One of the other crazy things is the reveal that I put on the frame rail just to give it a little bit more love.
Wow.
So that follows,
all the way
wraps
down.
around and then goes all the way, yeah.
That is a really cool detail. Of course, the frame has also got a pearl to it also.
Oh yeah, the whole frame, the whole chassis is pearl white.
And then you even added some stuff like, this would normally be cut out and just be open.
I just made new ones that sort of just filled that gap and still looked sort of like a factory splash apron.
Yeah, and it wraps around up in here and it fits and it's painted and it's striped.
It's awesome that it's got a plexi.
So I've had this trick saved in my head for forever, and I was waiting for the right car to do it on. So I always wanted to do a see-through hood, but not just a see-through hood. It had to be something special. My buddy Bobby Walden whipped up these hood sides. I made the acrylic insets. Kind of just showcases it, and plus you get sick of opening the hood to show people, and this way you can be like, yeah, just look.
That's super flex points. Like, yeah, you can just look. You don't have to show it. So how much is this chopped?
3.5 inches.
Wow.
So something else that I did, since this was going to be a highboy, and we weren't going to be running fenders. One of the things that really bothered my eyeballs was the square corner that's here on the factory cars for where the fender meets the running board.
Yeah.
So I whipped up a die and stamped a whole new lower quarter.
Of course you did.
So it would make that transition a little bit nicer.
Yeah, for those who don't know, highboy actually means the body sits on top of the frame as opposed to being chopped, channeled, or dropped over the frame, so it gives a lower appearance.
The rear spreader bar was interesting. This is all made out of chrome moly tubing, but I bent it to match the sweep of the back of the car, so it wasn't, again, just a straight bar. In order to make those fit here, this whole panel stretched 2.5 inches. So I had to remake all these corners and bring this whole thing down, otherwise it would have looked too crowded.
You got louvered
deck lid. Yeah.
I mean, that is a lot of work. And here's a cool thing that's pretty much you'll never see again in a car, is the kick out front windshield for air.
And on this one, I had to do that because I filled the factory cowl vent because I had to push the motor back so far.
Because it'd be right here.
Correct.
And it'd lift up and you get fresh air.
Yeah.
These wheels, let me guess, they're one-off?
No, the wheels are actually new old stock from 1964.
What?
Yeah.
This is like one of the newest parts then on the car.
Right. The tires, though, are one-off made. So these are basically a rip-off of the early 60s Mickey Thompson drag tires.
Dang, that thing's sick. Did you start with an original frame and hack it, or you just started over? And
I just made a frame. Sometimes it's easier to make your own than like rework somebody else's mistakes for 50 years.
You got direct steered to this and like that?
So this is a one-off Schroeder steering box that my buddy Gary Schroeder made for me for this car. I couldn't just put it through a hole, so I actually cut this panel off the car, pressed a beld hole in it.
Oh yeah, you can
and
barely
welded
see
it
it.
back in.
I will just notice something right now.
The steering arm?
With the steering arm, and also you have no front brakes.
Yeah, you know, front brakes, they're sort of overrated unless you're doing donuts or something stupid.
Hey, buddy. Hey.
I couldn't help it. Early show cars and early drag cars almost always had spindle mount wheels, and they never made the wheels that I wanted in spindle mount version. Keeping true to its thing, I just decided to go with the early Ford hubs and just omit all the factory drum brakes.
Yeah, brakes are for quitters. And then let me guess. This
The drip rail is original.
It is?
Yes, because it becomes the body line, and that's just part of the stamping.
Oh, okay. So can we get a look inside now? Oh man, suicide doors.
So 34 was the only year that Ford had what they called the smoker's vent. So you rolled the handle one way and it went back, and you rolled it the other
so-
way and it went up and down.
To pull the smoke out of the car?
Correct.
Wow.
They worked like it, and they never did it again.
So it's a 1 year thing?
Yeah. It took me longer to figure out the windows than it did to chop the top.
Oh, of course, everyone. The
Yeah.
paint theme has to go into the rocker. I remember this car, not besides this, but it's also got an acrylic plate over the transmission so you can see the gears
Correct.
work.
You know, a lot of show cars work hard to cover everything up, and I sort of went the opposite and tried to just expose as much as I could.
I mean, the tunnel's painted. You got diamond it's just
Yeah, pearl white leather.
real brave with the white. I mean, obviously the white makes sense for the paint
The white
color.
makes it look bigger.
It does, but I mean, that's so crazy.
And nothing looks better than chrome and white.
Yeah,
So-
true. It's just you're brave because I can't sit anything unless it's black because I'm dirty all the time, it seems
Me
like.
too.
And most of us are. Did you hand form this or is this stock?
Yeah, those I
Factory?
had to remake after the shop. So I made literally everything, the pedals, the cover, the gas pedal, except for the little offie pad, the drop, everything. The dash is a original 34 that's been stretched. It has the insert out of a 53 Willys Aero. The seats are out of the same car as the engine. And the best thing that you could have had that's Ford powered in 64 was a Thunderbolt.
Oh.
So it's a 427 side oiler out of a Thunderbolt, factory lightweight buckets out of the race car.
Whoa, I just realized that your shifter boot's white.
Yeah, that was a brand new from the 50s shifter boot when they still made them molded in white.
Oh, I've never seen them.
Yeah, I've only seen two, and I have the other one on my shelf. NOS Kreger steering wheel. So Kreger actually made steering wheels in 61 and 62.
So we got to check out the interior. Let's check out the motor though. What?
Wow.
so crazy though, but like upholstery firewall because flexing.
Flexing.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is painted on the inside the same way it's painted on the outside.
Wow.
Fully chromed radiator.
Everything. is
Actually,
chrome.
everything on the engine is chrome except the block inside.
So let's talk about the motor real quick. So it's got a Mickey Thompson intake.
Yeah, it's a Mickey Thompson cross ram with 426 Hemi race carbs on a 427 Ford side oiler out of a Thunderbolt.
The carbs are chromed,
Yeah, with Nixon fire arresters.
and you said this compression on this is 14-1.
Yeah, just short of 14 to 1.
So that means it's running on some race
110
gas.
leaded. Yeah, it likes that.
Yeah, it needs that. It won't run any other way.
Something else that I did that's a little untraditional as far as hot rodding goes. Ford's motor mount situation usually isn't really handy when you're talking about putting a big engine in a tiny car. So I used one out of a drag boat. This is a whole Nixon front timing cover motor mount out of a drag boat.
Oh, I was gonna say because I see this machining on the front by the crank.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on with this?
Because Ford motors, although they make a lot of performance, some of them aren't the prettiest motors. So I incorporated some Buick spark plug wire covers to just kind of cover up that one ugly part of the head and make it all sort of be conducive to fins and chrome
Yeah,
and
exactly.
shiny.
Do you remember like how the specs is on this besides the compression, like the cam or anything?
I know it's solid, but I don't No.
So many cars.
So many cars. I know that intake manifold was brand new in the box from Mickey Thompson still from like 1963.
So you had NOS just sitting there. Was this in your personal collection?
No, that one I had to find. So the original firewall would have been about here.
Yeah, so how much did you push it back then?
This much.
So 10 inches?
10 inches or so, yeah. I put it back till I could close the hood, and then I just built around it.
You know what I do want to see real quick though?
What?
Is inside the trunk. I'm just curious to see if the trunk's detailed
I think,
as much as the rest of the car. So this is a spun aluminum tank that you went ahead and had painted to match the car, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah. The wire covers off of
Yeah.
a 60s choppers.
So everything basically is anything you can think of from the time period
Mm-hmm.
gets applied. So how much power did this motor make?
This made just under 800 on the dyno.
800 under the dyno, and this car weighs 1,800, 1,900 pounds.
It weighs less than 2,000.
So that just means this car is really fast, no front brakes, but it looks awesome doing it. It's a rocket, let's just be honest. It sounds bananas too.
It is. Yeah, it sounds better than any car I've ever built.
And then share the fun fact, who named this car?
So this car was named by the artist Robert Williams. We have a very close relationship. He's basically my surrogate father. When I was building the car, as the progression went, he loved the fact that it was artistic. It was still a hot rod in his eyes. It had the perfect chop, according to him, and all these things. So when the car was in bare metal, he called it the Iron Orchid because it was beautiful yet whatever.
That's a cool story regardless, because
Yeah.
Robert Williams naming anything that's an honor. Let's try and jack this thing up so we can look
All right,
underneath.
cool.
So here we are at a different angle you normally would not see us in. Since the car's so unique, we can't get it on the lift. We're here on the ground. There's Dave,
Hi there.
and we're doing it how we basically would do it in someone's driveway. Dude, seriously, right away, the paint scheme continues, but it's pearl white.
The whole bottom of the car is pearl white, the whole frame's pearl white. And then to give it a little flavor, we did the candy blue pearl on the bottom. In the panels, a little bit of chrome, as you can see.
Just a little bit of chrome. They cut and buffed the underneath the car.
Yeah, the whole frame too.
Gee whiz. This is amazing.
And remember earlier when I said there was a whole different theme on the underside of the car that wasn't on the outside?
Yeah.
That would be all of these belled holes everywhere. Through holes always look unfinished, so I decided to just make them dimples. So it looked racier, but it looked finished as well, which is about 30 times the work, and I'll never fucking do it again.
But it looks great.
But it looks really good. If you look up at the front axle, it's dimpled as well on the whole back
Oh my God.
to match the ladder bars here
Yep.
and all that stuff.
All I gotta say is I've never seen a car with this much detail, I think, ever in person. Your drive shaft loop is molded into, it's part of the frame.
Correct. This cross member is all sculpted out of 1/8" steel. The loop is actually 3/8 bent, and everything's just welded together and metal finished.
And then so much chrome. The transmission mount is chrome.
The whole transmission is chrome.
Dude. So then you got a 9-inch in it. By chance you remember the gearing in it?
I want to say 456.
And all the brake lines, I've noticed they're completely,
All the brake lines are chromed.
they're all chromed. They're bent really nice. It's super tight to the frame. You can see it right here. And it goes up and over. You get your switch here. Of course, your controls are still chromed. Your header setup, not exhaust, it's straight up headers. I'm gonna ask you a question though, real quick. Tie rod ends versus Heims, like ball joints?
Always tie rods.
Always tie rods?
If you're trying to be period correct, then yeah. Heim joints are great for certain applications, newer stuff, or things you're going to thrash on. But when you're trying to be true to the way things were done, 50s, 60s, even into the 70s, tie rods it is.
The most crazy detailed automobile we've probably had in the building.
And this is a good sign of when you really have someone who really cares about the paint. They painted it all the way around. It's totally finished on the bottom of the body also.
It took a long time to gap that body to the frame like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is pretty bananas. If you really look at it, that gap from the body to the frame is ridiculous. Dave, you build awesome stuff.
Thanks.
It's beautiful. I want to say thanks for bringing this by, man.
Thank you, dude. This was fun.
And
really
then-
rad. Honored to be here. Thanks for everything. You guys always show us a lot of love, and it's cool to have this thing out again. It's been a long time. When I moved to California and I brought this car with me to work for Bo, and I was going through a divorce, and I'm like, dude, I really need a bunch of money, so why don't you buy this car and then I'll build you something really cool out of it? So he did, and he let me, and this is the result of that conversation. Thanks, Bo. Love you.
Sick. This thing's bananas. Jesse, you like it?
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
You should see if you can take it home with you.
I mean,
Everything's for sale, I guess.
Oh, everything's for sale.
Everything's for sale.
There you go, everyone. $2,500. We have a sign over here. We'll put it on there. Boom. $2,500. You can take this home right now for $2,500. Thank you again for bringing this by.
For sure, dude. Thank you.
And it's an honor to have it here. Two dudes laying on the ground.
two dudes laying on the ground.